Hello, welcome to the data channel and you are watching Microsoft Fabric playlist. And as usual, we are bringing up the next topic, so which most of you might be interested to know, and most of you might have this question in your mind that Microsoft Fabric is making many of the engineers' job easy, and so will it impact my job and do my the skills that you have right in your respective roles so that the skills will be still relevant and can I carry forward these skills going forward in the Microsoft Fabric or completely I lose my skills like suppose you're a data engineer, you have your own skills, data science scientist has their own skills, similarly analyst and develop SQL developer and as a visualization engineer. So or whoever is working in the data landscape, right? So you have your own different skill sets and you have spent a lot of time and effort basically to learn the skills, and you have spent years of doing some certifications, or you might have taken some courses, and you might have learned a lot of skills over the job. So, like the years of experience and the years of effort, do I lose my skills which have spent a lot of time acquiring those skills? Right. So definitely this will be a one of the questions that everyone will have, right? So as and when the new technology landscape come in, and so that we will see in this video how this will change the picture of the existing landscape or existing the job roles, and will my job will still be relevant after the Microsoft Fabric, or completely my job role or the skills that I'm using for the particular job, so it'll become completely irrelevant for the after this Microsoft Fabric comes in. So these are the questions we will try to address in this video. And before proceeding, if you are new to this channel, we would recommend you to please subscribe and also press bell button for instant notifications. So let's get started. So as you can see, this is what we have discussed in the previous videos, right? So what is Microsoft Fabric and how the landscape looks like. So as you can see, the Microsoft Fabric has brought everything in one umbrella. So to have a quick overview, so right, One Lake is one solution for the data storage, and it stores a Delta Parquet format, right? And all the teams use just one source of truth, that is the data stored in one lake, and these all the these are the like services which are already existing, and they have integrated all these services into the Microsoft Fabric landscape, right? And this is a SaaS solution which Microsoft Fabric has bundled and has given it to the enterprise as an enterprise solution for the data data use cases. So now, so as you can see, like there are different services, right? So if you talk about One Lake, so One Lake, if you are a Power BI developer, so then you have a extensive work experience working with the different data sources of source systems, target systems, right? And you connect to a different data sources, right, to produce your reports. So this will how this One Lake will change is this will make your this will include CSV or JSON files from the data lake. One Lake will make you actually your job is very easy, because so instead of working in different file formats and getting the access from the different teams, right? So think about it like you are working in a different team, and so the data engineers working in different team, and they produce the data in the Parquet format or Delta Parquet format, and so for you as a Power BI developer, so there is no relevant connector to connect to that kind of file format. So then you request them to change the format, or you have to change the format to consume that files, maybe to convert them into CSV and Parquet, and so then consume those files, right? But here it makes things easy, because whether you are a Power BI developer, whether you're a data engineer, so you One Lake will always give you the one copy of the data which can be decoded into the respective services. If your data factory wants a certain file format, One Lake can give it, right? And if your Power BI wants the to read a data set which is there in the one lake in the CSV file format or Parquet file format, you can still read it irrespective of what is the file format. So that maybe the access, so that will save your time and that will save your effort, and so that will save the lead time, right, to reach out to different people and um, get the help to connect to that particular source system, right? And also if you are a data engineer or a developer also, right, so no doubt you have worked with the raw files and in some sort of cloud storage, so your skill will continue to be used when you're working with one lake, right? So and because so even though you are SQL developer or data engineer, so SQL developer needs the data in SQL format, and data and engineers might mostly work in the Parquet, Delta, and different file formats as required. But since it is one lake is supporting all the file format, so your life will also get kind of easy here, right? Now, if you talk about a data factory, right? So data factory is again one of the resource which extensively used by data engineers, right? And so, like most of the pipelines, the data flow that you create, so definitely you have that skill, right, of creating the data pipelines, data flows, that functionality, and so you have that skill of ETL, ELT combination, so that will still continue, right? And when you are working with data factory, you create a pipelines, you create data sets, link services, integration runtime, you create data flows, you establish the connectivity to different sources, and you also create an entire orchestration of the job from the connecting to the source and doing applying different data transformations and pushing it to the different downstream applications. So that entire skills that you had as a data engineer, that and the plug and play functionality of because in data factory it's less code and more of a like drag and drop features and plug and play features, so that will still continue, that skill will still continue, because the entire data factory, if you talk, right, the entire factory as comes as a package to the Microsoft Fabric, and no skill is going irrelevant, or no skill will is no particular topic from the data factory or concept of the data factory is going to be removed from this, right? And next, if you talk about the Synapse analytics, right, Synapse data engineering, so that will again, if you are working with SQL, Spark SQL, Python as a data engineer, so that skills will be still relevant, and you will be still able to use the T-SQL if you are into from that background of T-SQL, right? And you can use that notebook experience, right? Creating the Python notebook, creating the Python R, or all of these notebooks, and if you have work with a Power BI data source and modeling. If you come from that background, you can still continue to use that in the Synapse data engineering space, right? And coming to the data warehouse, right? In data warehouse experience, you can use T-SQL either directly or via the editor, right? Which is a new with the Microsoft Fabric, right? And the query editor utilized the Power Query, so you will definitely feel that streamed experience that you had previously, that will still continue. Okay. And in data warehouse experience, again, you still have a T-SQL as we mentioned, and with the Microsoft Fabric, it will be still relevant and continue. And finally, as a data scientist, if you see, right, a data scientist will have their own different skill set, right, of creating the models, training the models, and writing different use cases for the data science and machine learning and AI algorithms, and they have their own packages of AI ML to train their models and do some predictive analytics and different kinds of analytics, right? So now you can still, as a data scientist, because as part of Synapse data science, you can still apply that uh, your knowledge and skill, so that way that is not going anywhere, and you can use your predict SQL experience, which generates a predictive value or score based on some KPIs. Your all your skills as a data scientist will still come handy here, right? And And as a data scientist, you can also use the analytics of Power BI, so that AI and machine learning, such as a key performance indicator or a decomposition tree, so your knowledge will still be relevant and carry forward in this case, right? So, and if you closely observe all these packages that we have discussed, data factory, Synapse data engineering, Synapse data warehouse, data science. So all we have discussed here, so this is all these packages are not new packages. They are existing components in Azure, Microsoft Azure. So they are bringing it into the umbrella of one Microsoft Fabric. So the costing and everything is simplified, and so like none of the skills or none of the components in these particular capacities are removed or taken away. So your skills, you are continuing to use that skills, right? And in case of like a real-time analytics, right? So real-time analytics, you might be using whatever the real-time analytics in Azure you have used. So those entire skill will still be relevant and will continue, right? As a data engineer or data scientist who are using this real-time analytics data which is flowing in real time. So this particular component or the uh, this particular component in Azure will definitely carry forward as it is. And maybe yeah, few configuration related might things might change, but the core component remains the same here. And finally, the Power BI. So I would say the most happy people to use the Microsoft Fabric would be Power BI resources, because the entire if you see the user interface of the Microsoft Fabric, it is exactly looks like a Power BI, and Power BI resources, right? Or the Power BI people who are working in Power BI from long term would actually feel it's a similar UI that they were using previously, right? And for the data engineers and for other data scientists, this Fabric UI might look a little bit different. But for the Power BI resources, it will be a seamless experience, right? And the experience, you will definitely feel at home when you're working with Microsoft Fabric, that is for sure. And as a Power BI resource, if you talk about the skills, right? So definitely you have a DAX skills, right? Creating a DAX query and SQL query, and you need to keep in mind the SQL is not a DAX and DAX is not a SQL, right? And like DAX development you can still do, right? And you can still write a optimization of DAX and optimization of SQL. So those relevant skills will continue to carry forward, and especially the DAX writing skills, right? So that will definitely be carried forward. Even in case of Fabric, you can still use DAX query in case of Power BI, even though you are in the Microsoft Fabric landscape. So to kind of use and analyze or report any kind of data scenarios. So with that, if you see, right, so all the components, so Microsoft Fabric has not created any new components or and also not have removed any new existing components, right? So the Fabric, what it has done is it has made the um, like the operations of the each resources easy, right? Because previously you are creating the each resources individually, so here you don't have that overhead of creating the resources, right? You are just you don't need to create a data factory here, you don't need to create a data engineering synapse, right? You don't need to create a Power BI. So all come as a one package. So that's where and the cost also in the previous video we have seen. So the cost, there is no individual cost for these all of these. So it will be one cost for each Microsoft Fabric tenant level or whatever level subscription level what we have discussed in the previous video. So that makes a couple of things easy. But if you are talking about the skills, so skills will never get impacted or skills is never getting changed. So you just need to understand the landscape of the Fabric and continue to work with your existing skills. Right, so as you can see, data engineers will continue to use data fabric engineering, Synapse data engineering, Synapse data warehouse, Synapse real-time analytics, right? And as a data scientist, you use continue to use the Synapse data science module along with some of the data engineering components you might still use, right? And as a data analyst, you use a data activator, Power BI, Synapse real-time analytics, and a warehouse. And If you are a data citizen, that means you are interested to from the business side also, or if you are a manager, or if you're kind of a role where you want to uh, have that end user experience, right? So then the you have a Power BI and you have a data activator. So these we have, all these components we have discussed in the previous videos, right? And so this is how the skills will be still relevant, and all the skills that we have acquired so will continue. And the storage will be in one lake, so it will be shared across all of these roles. And the data steward is again a role which will continue to have maintaining and managing all of this and the entire landscape of the data, right? So hope yeah, so this was useful. And again, if you want to conclude this, right? So do I lose my job? So by seeing in last 15-20 minutes, the you might have already got the answer. Definitely no, you will not lose your jobs, because all your skills that you have learned, so it is completely relevant. So Microsoft Fabric will empower you basically, or enhance your experience, so that you can more concentrate on the skills that you have acquired and applying that skills, rather than worrying about where is my data, what is my format of the data, how to get access to this, right? And like how the different team wants this data, right? So those kind of all that questions will be sorted out, and you just as each of the different roles, you just need to concentrate on your core skills and strength, right? And it will just Microsoft is just enhancing the experience, and it will not taking away any of your skills. And also it makes a job more exciting, because you just need to apply your skills and get what business expectation is. And it makes things more streamlined, and also it makes people accountable, so that you can definitely concentrate on each and everything that you're working. And yes, because you have more clarity and accountability. And so the more of the most of the companies might think, right? So they might think of like, instead of 10 people, should I just need 8 people? Yeah, there might be few questions, but I would say it is the individual organization level thinking that each organization might have, right? But if you personally ask, so it should not impact the job. Maybe if you ask the ratio, right, it should be 100 is to 1 or 100 is to 2. Might be that is the impact level that it can have. It cannot be like 50% job will be lost, right? So it might have just 2%, 3% of the impact. Maybe they want to optimize the job roles, right? Because they have the more clarity. But definitely, like you need to think in this way, right? Even though there is optimization in the job roles, so definitely it will create more jobs also, because all the data engineers, analysts, and developers, scientists are working with more clarity. So since you get since the all these roles have will have more clarity, so you can generate more revenue, and the business will definitely invest more into in terms of understanding the data and bringing the more data projects, right? So that definitely will in turn create more jobs. We need to think in that way. And so definitely Microsoft Fabric will enhance the experience, will enhance the job market, and will definitely get the more investment from the enterprises to the data data projects, right? And I hope this was useful. Thanks for watching.